I walked into a Starbucks the other day, not for any particular reason, just because I needed some caffeine and a place to sit for 5 minutes. And while I waited in a line that moved at the speed of a glacier, staring at a menu more complicated than a tax return, I realized something. The magic was gone. The place felt strange, tired, like a famous actor who now only does insurance commercials. And apparently, I'm not the only one who feels this way. It's not your imagination. It's a tangible reality, and above all, one that's measurable in spreadsheets. In recent months, Starbucks profits have plummeted by almost 50%. 50! That's not a bump in the road, that's a crater. They've had 6 consecutive quarters of losses, and their once flawless image is cracking like an old ceramic mug. They announced the closure of a bunch of stores and the layoff of hundreds of corporate employees, right after having let go of another 1,100 not long ago. Customers complain about absurd prices, endless lines, and a product that often tastes like disappointment. The legendary pumpkin spice latte no longer has the same shine, and the competition, once insignificant, is now nipping at the king's heels. How is this possible? How did the brand that basically invented modern coffee culture for an entire generation, the one that taught us to pay $5 for a brown liquid, end up like this? The butt of jokes and the symbol of everything that's wrong with the consumer economy. The answer isn't just one thing. It's a perfect storm of bad decisions, corporate arrogance, and a deep misunderstanding of its own audience. Today we're going to break down the 5 deadly sins that brought Starbucks to this precipice. And believe me, it's a marketing lesson on how not to kill your own golden goose. The first nail in the coffin was, ironically, the destruction of its own brightest creation. The third place. To understand this, we have to travel back in time. In the 1980s, a guy named Howard Schultz traveled to Milan and had an epiphany. He saw how Italian cafes weren't just places to buy coffee, but social hubs. They were the space between home, the first place, and work, the second. They were the third place. Schultz brought this idea to the United States with overwhelming success. Starbucks wasn't selling coffee, it was selling an experience. It offered comfy sofas, cool music, free Wi-Fi, and the feeling of belonging to a community. During the 90s and the 2000s, it worked perfectly. People went to Starbucks to read, to work, to have first dates, to hang out. You'd buy a coffee and with it, you'd rent a cozy space for an hour. But today, what remains of that? Walk into a modern Starbucks. The sofas have been replaced by hard, uncomfortable stools, designed so you'll leave quickly. The tables are tiny, barely big enough for a laptop and your drink. Many new locations don't even have seating. They've turned into cold, efficient pickup stations. The atmosphere is more like a dentist's waiting room, but with worse music and the vague threat that you'll be charged $80 for a caffeine whitening. Almost 60% of coffee in the United States is now ordered at the drive-thru. The brand that built a $90 billion empire on the idea of community is now actively pushing you to leave as soon as possible. They abandoned their identity for operational efficiency. A textbook mistake. And that brings us directly to the second sin. The identity crisis. Starbucks no longer knows if it's an affordable luxury or an overpriced fast food chain. For years their value proposition was clear. You paid a premium price, but you got a premium experience. The coffee was decent, the atmosphere was great, the service was personalized. It was a small daily luxury that made you feel good, but now the price is still premium. In fact, it's higher than ever, but the experience has been downgraded to the level of a McDonald's at rush hour. You pay $8 for a coffee that's often poorly made by a stressed-out barista who has to handle 20 mobile orders before yours. This brand schizophrenia has left them stuck in the worst possible place in the market. The middle. For the consumer looking to save money, there are much cheaper options like McDonald's itself or Dunkin'. For the consumer seeking quality and an authentic experience, the market is now full of artisanal coffee shops and independent local cafes that roast their own beans and where the barista knows your name. Starbucks is now neither one nor the other. It's like buying a first-class ticket on an airline and being seated on the wing. You pay for the prestige, but the experience is, let's say, breezy and a little dangerous. They've lost their niche by trying to be everything to everyone, and in the end, they're not really anything to anyone. Their customer acquisition cost must be through the roof because they no longer have a clear selling point. The third problem is the tyranny of the algorithm, embodied in their mobile app. At first, the Starbucks app was revolutionary. The rewards program was a masterclass in customer loyalty. It made ordering easy and you felt rewarded for your loyalty. But over time, the tool became the master. Today, the app completely dictates how each store operates and has created an operational nightmare. Mobile orders have cannibalized the in-store experience. If you're a customer who walks up to order at the counter, you're a second-class citizen. You have to wait while the baristas prepare an endless line of drinks with ridiculous names and 12-step customizations that someone ordered from their car 3 kilometers away. The technology that was supposed to improve the experience has ruined it. It has created a two-speed system that frustrates both types of customers, the one inside the store and the one waiting in their car. Baristas, who used to be brand ambassadors, are now assembly line workers trying to decipher a hieroglyph sent from an iPhone. The complexity of orders has skyrocketed. The pressure on staff is immense, and the quality inevitably suffers. The obsession with digital optimization has completely ignored the human factor, which was, ironically, the heart of the brand. The efficiency of the algorithm has killed the warmth of the service. The fourth sin is a classic case of how globalization can come back to bite you. For a long time, China was the crown jewel in Starbucks' international expansion. They arrived first, had no competition, and positioned themselves as a Western luxury brand. At its peak, they controlled more than 40% of the coffee market in China. It seemed like an unstoppable success story, but they brutally underestimated the market and the local competition. While Starbucks kept selling its American dream in a cup, a Chinese company called Luckin Coffee started doing things differently. Luckin focused on what the modern Chinese consumer really wanted: convenience, speed, and low prices. Their model is based almost exclusively on mobile orders and small pickup-only locations, often without seating. They offer decent, highly customizable coffee at almost half the price of Starbucks. The result has been a bloodbath. In less than a decade, Starbucks' market share in China has dropped from that glorious 40% to less than 15%. Luckin, which started 20 years later, already has more stores in China than Starbucks. Starbucks arrived in China like an 80s rock star, expecting everyone to know their songs. But suddenly a local band showed up with synthesizers and a laser show doing the same thing, but faster, cheaper, and with an app that didn't crash. The audience is ruthless and the lesson is clear. The advantage of being first doesn't last forever if you don't adapt. Finally, we come to the fifth and perhaps most intangible of the sins: the loss of the vibe factor. Starbucks back in the day was cool. It was the very definition of cool. Walking around with a white cup with the siren logo was a status symbol. It represented the creative professional, the aspirational college student, the hustle culture of the 2010s. But brands, like people, inevitably age over time. And Starbucks has unfortunately aged quite poorly. Nowadays, it's widely seen as a giant, impersonal, and often unscrupulous corporation. News about its aggressive anti-union tactics, boycotts over various political causes, and its suffocating omnipresence have completely eroded its cultural cachet. Being a Starbucks fan today is like still insisting that skinny jeans are the future of fashion. You're not necessarily wrong, but everyone looks at you a little weird. It has become a basic, predictable brand. Culture has moved on, and Starbucks has been left behind, clinging to an idea of itself that no longer exists. A brand's value isn't just in its product, but in the story it tells. And Starbucks' story has gone from being an inspiring tale of success and community to a boring fable about corporate greed. When you lose your cultural relevance, when you stop being the aspirational choice and become the default option, you're in serious trouble. So here we are, with a brand that has betrayed its founding concept of the third place, that suffers from an identity crisis, not knowing whether it's luxury or junk, that has been enslaved by its own technology, defeated in key markets by more agile competitors, and that quite simply has stopped being cool. The new CEO has promised to return to the roots, focus on cozy interiors, and minimize price increases. But the question is whether it might be too little, too late. Can Starbucks get its magic back? Or is consumer trust, once broken, impossible to repair? Perhaps the biggest lesson here is that no brand is too big to fall, especially when it forgets the reason people fell in love with it in the first place. I'd love to know what you think. Do you think Starbucks can turn things around? Or are they already a thing of the past? Tell me in the comments what was the last straw for you. And speaking of competitors who are doing things in a radically different way, there's the story of how a Chinese ice cream shop called Mixu is using ridiculously low prices to take down giants like McDonald's and, yes, Starbucks. It's crazy. If you want to see what real disruption in the fast food sector looks like, I'll leave that video right here. It's not to be missed.